Morgan State University's Patuxent Environmental and Aquatic Research Laboratory, or the PEARL, is a research laboratory located about 2 hours south of Baltimore in Calvert County. It started as a center that focused mostly on monitoring the Chesapeake Bay, and we continue to do so, but now we focus also on the application of that monitoring. What do we do with the data? How can that data be helped society move forward and meet some of the challenges of the 21st century? One of the studies that we have here at the lab is the George Abbey blue crab study. That study started in the late 60s, where we have a fisheries independent study of blue crabs. And as such, it is the longest running study using the same gear continuous in the Chesapeake Bay. Some of the types of things that we saw are, for instance, the size of blue crabs. Now, the size of female blue crabs over the span hasn't really changed that much. But we did see that the size of male crabs has decreased dramatically. Now, this is important because female crabs mate once. The size matters. Sorry guys, it's true. In crabs, the bigger the crab, the more sperm, the more fertilized eggs, the more crabs you're going to get next year. The smaller the crab, fewer crabs you're going to get next year. So from this work, we could see that the size of male crabs are going down, so that the reproductive effort for the population was going down. It was on this basis that the DNR and others got together and said we need to do something so that we can bring the size of the male crabs back up and help the male population. We can only see that if you have that long-term data set where you can see those changes over decadal time periods. One of the questions I get a lot is, so what good is this? What's the value? Why are we doing this? Why are we counting crabs? People are always talking about, well, we need to clean the bay, we need to do something. So we get some money, we get some people, everybody get together, yay, and we do something to impact the bay. How do we know if it worked? The only way you can know if it worked is if there's this data that you can compare it to. You can say, we did this thing, we cleaned this up, we changed the sewage treatment plants, we did all these marvelous things, and we saw a change in the blue crabs. Well, was that different? Was that part of the natural cycle, or is this actually having an impact? You can only tell that if you have these long-term data sets. Over the years, this program has the different financial backers or supporters. Originally, it was brought in by Calvert Cliffs, the nuclear power plant, because they were under pressure from the regulatory agencies to see if they had any impact on the bay. The funding was then picked up by the Department of Natural Resources, who realized the importance of this and said this is very useful for us in managing this important resource. But then Dominion Power came in and picked up the program. They realized the importance of the program of maintaining long-term data sets. One of the advantages of this funding from Dominion is that it allows us to bring in bright new researchers. We have this data set that we've had for 40 years or so. But with the Dominion money, we're able to bring in interns, and interns look at that data set with bright new eyes, with new questions, new ways to look at it, and new ways to bring this data forward into the next century.
What really interested me here is I'm a big outdoorsman, and when I was around 5 years old, my dad and my grandfather always took me crabbing. My grandfather always made me get up really early in the morning, and he said, hey Jimmy, we gotta get up and catch the incoming tide. So I was wondering, I was like, wow, this should be actually a really good study. That's what influenced me to study. I wanted to look at the tidal influence of the crabs harvested on a flood or ebb tide. What I found in my study was that I would catch more and heavier crabs on a flood tide, an incoming tide, than an ebb tide. And it looks like my grandfather was right. One of my other duties on a daily basis is to work on the long-term crab pot survey. And we collect the crabs and we do data analysis on them. This research is important to me because I want the Chesapeake Bay to be here so I can take my grandchildren out just like my grandfather took me.